lawyer for Hunter Biden, Washington attorney Abby Lowell, is warning those involved in spreading assertions about the infamous laptop that they could face litigation over their claims. According to Politico, who spoke with a person familiar with the situation, Lowell sent the litigation hold letters on Wednesday that read, "You have made various statements and engaged in certain activities by your own admission or that have been publicly reported in the media concerning our client, Robert Hunter Biden. This letter constitutes notice that a litigation hold should be in effect for the preservation and retention of all records and documents related to Mr. Biden and may be necessary to produce this material in litigation." The letter was sent to 14 people allegedly linked to efforts to generate coverage critical of Hunter Biden. Among those are a lawyer for former President Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, Giuliani's lawyer, Robert Costello, and an attorney for John Paul MacIsaac, the former Delaware computer repair shop owner who handled the laptop computer that Hunter Biden dropped off in 2019.
A spokesperson for Lowell has denied providing what type of litigation warnings they've given, and representatives for Giuliani and Costello have dismissed the warnings as an intimidation tactic. So you're more familiar with this part of the law. Is this pretty standard procedure?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of related to a little bit of what I was talking about on my radar, that document preservation is a huge part of what happens in litigation. If you think you're going to be sued and you think there's incriminating documents, there's every incentive in the world just to dump it before you're in a position where you're tasked by the court to preserve documents so that they can be reviewed. A lot of people have routinely deleting documents, right? Companies don't save their emails on their servers forever and ever. So you might have it set to delete every 3 months, every 6 months, every year, whatever it is. And if you are suing someone, you want to stop that as soon as possible, long before you might get to the point in the litigation where you're actually negotiating over document disclosures. So there's like a very perfectly reasonable and good reason to want to have these litigation holds. However, it also can be an intimidation technique, kind of a threat of a lawsuit, et cetera, to try to discourage people from talking about a story that's inconvenient to the Biden family.
Yeah, I've wondered that with with the Twitter files, and they have Slack messages as well. So maybe Twitter's policy must then have been to preserve Slack messages, because I know you can very easily set Slack messages to delete after a couple months, which is, I think, probably a good policy for most workplaces to follow.
Yeah, it's fascinating, actually, this kind of document forensics, because let's say something gets deleted in a Slack, but you screen grabbed a Slack message and we're talking about it with your friends. Are you going to discover, are you going to request images from people's cell phones? How are you going to vet which images they have to turn over? You don't want, obviously, everybody's photos. It's very private stuff. Are you going to, request private emails that might have forwarded those kind of screen grabs to someone? Have you ever kind of like copy and pasted somebody's Slack messages and sent them in an email to someone who's not on your Slack thread to tell them what had gone on at work on a certain day? There's a lot of ways to find stuff. And spicy stuff usually doesn't get deleted because we share it around in our private lives. So yeah, like I can understand why somebody would want to do this, but think about it from the perspective of the people who are sending this letter. What are they mad about? Are they rearing up for a defamation claim? Are they saying that there was something untrue about the laptop that was being said? Like what is
it sounds like they're gearing
basis?
up to assert that the laptop was taken,
was improperly,
was not left behind, but so that then the repairman Costello, his giving it to Giuliani or et cetera, and the process that it made its way to the New York Post was improper, which, by the way, could be the case. That would not change. Like, this is so important. Does not change whether the information on the laptop is worth discussing by the media, even if it was improper every step of that.
Yes.
If there was a crime committed and the New York Post participated in that, then they could be held accountable. No one is suggesting that that's the case.
Right.
And also, there might be no reason to think it was actually stolen. Again, the laptop person has said it was abandoned, and so on. But we can care about what's on it, even if the process
100%.
to get there was not proper.
I know,
as is the case with WikiLeaks, as was the case with Romney's remarks about half of America, as was the case with so many things.
I know everyone wants to beat up on the New York Post, but it's actually called the New York Times rule, and it is that rule that enables these flagship institutions to report on things like WikiLeaks and the like. So hypocrisy abounds.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, happening today, the Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government is holding its first hearing. Iowa Republican Senator Chuck Grassley is set to testify, along with Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson, both of whom have been vocal about the alleged bias at the FBI and have criticized the Justice Department actions on the handling of a criminal investigation into Hunter Biden. So I think this committee has a lot of legitimate inquiries to look into. I've been very alarmed finding out more and more about how much limitations of Americans' free expression rights have happened on social media because of direct direction from the FBI and other agencies. We're concerned about what the FBI knew specifically about Hunter Biden, if it waited to have the Hunter Biden investigation because it was too close to the election. Concerned about the FBI's own attempts to discredit the laptops to the New York Post story based on its intelligence, or former FBI people, at least. People associated with the FBI, people who, this revolving door, who have gone from the FBI to Twitter. There is an actual employee who's gone from the FBI to Twitter. This national security apparatus and the chilling effect they might have had on the reporting of the story, and what effect that's had on Americans' own free expression rights. So I don't know what exactly we have to hear from Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson about it.
We'll see what there is. I think that it's perfectly legitimate to investigate. I think if Democrats are going to try to push back against this, who knows how they'll try to spin these hearings or what they'll make of these hearings. We saw in the context of these Twitter file hearings that they had some legitimate points to raise about whether or not the disclosures were fulsome, at the same time that they made some really foot-and-mouth comments that seemed to suggest that the Hunter laptop story was in itself fake.
AOC saying that.
In this kind of stuff.
Breaking my heart.
I hope that the left learns from that lesson, that liberals learn from that lesson from those hearings, and actually have them bring their own agenda to the FBI hearings and ask whether or not there has been bias that has negatively affected them, because gotta say, FBI has not exactly been
a bipartisan agenda to limit the influence of the FBI.
Yeah.
That's what we should be focused on. It would be glorious. Well, that wraps it up for us this week. Tune in tomorrow to catch the best of Rising. In case you missed any of the segments we did, we post highlights from the last few days.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who prefer to listen while on the go, we are now available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Have a good one. Talk to you soon.